Hi, friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Saurabh Chhabra. Today, I would be discussing about cloud adoption framework. So, if you are planning to move to cloud or already on the journey to cloud, this is a must-watch video. Well, we would be deep diving into Microsoft's cloud adoption framework and what is it, why you should be choosing Azure over AWS or Google Cloud, and how you want to optimize cost and strengthen security as part of your cloud transformation journey. Let's get started. So first of all, I just want to let you know that if you are already want to move to cloud and you already have a footprint in cloud, that would be a separate scenario. But today we would be discussing where you actually have all the footprint in your on-prem and you are actually thinking of going to the cloud. There are a number of motivation factors. They can be a number of reasons. Why do you want to move to cloud? Why do you want to transform your digital journey, right? So digital journey is no longer a luxury, it is a necessity, right? You upgrade, and you upgrade your applications, you upgrade your business itself. So you upgrade everything, right? So that's where cloud Microsoft cloud adoption frameworks come into picture, where because it is a structured set of guidance, best practices, and tools created by Microsoft to help organization adopt Azure in a safe, smart, and a scalable way. Well, there are n number of ways to adopt cloud, right? But the way that I want you to understand is that there are some motivation factors, right? Which actually drives your journey to cloud. Why do you want to move to cloud, right? It can be cost, it can be upgrade, it can be legacy, a legacy application, it can be legacy hardware. You want to scale, right? High availability, resiliency. So there can be many more drivers which you can think of, which are actually drivers itself where you want to move to cloud, right? So there are a couple of ways to achieve this, but the best way to achieve is to have a six stages standard which we follow in Microsoft. And as you see, the stages are strategy, plan, ready, adopt, govern, and manage. The first one would be strategy. Well, when we talk about strategy is this is where you align your cloud journey with your business goals. Why are you moving to cloud? Is it to reduce cost? It is to increase agility or to improve customer experience. You will identify the key drivers, as I told you earlier, define measurable outcomes, and get stakeholders buy-in. These stages ensure you are not adopting cloud for a sake of it. You are actually doing it for a clear business objectives and values, right? For example, if we talk about a real estate company, right, and they wants to reduce the time to market for a new feature, well, their strategy goal is agility, right? They want the end application to be so agile and it be so quick, so that you can update the application, you can come up with new applications as soon as possible. You don't want to buy hardware for your applications to be up and running. So that would be one of the strategic motivating factor. Why do you want to move to Azure, right? As I told you, it can be agility, it can be cost, it can be resilience. The second would be how do you plan your journey, right? When you say how to plan your journey, it's like once the once the vision is clear, the plan phase is where the rubber meets the road. You assess your current digital state, identify workloads to migrate or modernize, and create a cloud adoption plan. Well, you also align people, process, and tools to support cloud readiness. This includes defining a skill, reading a plan, governance model, and the risk mitigation strategies. Well, to highlight, Azure Migrate for discovery and assessment are is actually a tool which you can use to actually plan things, right? When you create a plan, you actually use different tools, right? So aligning people, aligning process and tools is part of your planning that you do in this phase. And you have different skills readiness, right? And as well as the risk strategies. So you you plan it accordingly. So this is what we talk about as a planning stage. The second comes as the ready, where ready is nothing but a stage where you design and deploy your landing zones. Think of it as if you are moving in and moving in where you already have networking in place, identity in place, access control, monitoring, and policies. Well, these are the basic, what should I say, a landing zone where you have worked upon all of these things, and you have a place where you can land your applications. Well, you have to have a foundation for a secure and a scalable deployment. Well, this is nothing but a ready state. Well, a landing zone basically ensure your consistency, scalability, and governance from the start, especially importance of enterprise scale deployments. Well, it depends upon the level of your company. If you want to scale it to an enterprise level, or if you want to scale from just 10, 20 servers to 50 odd servers, right? So it depends what is the scale you're looking up to, and according to that, you are preparing your landing zone, you are creating the landing zone, right? So that would be the ready stage. The next stage would be the adopt stage. The adopt stage is where you actually migrate and innovate, right? So when we say migrate, right? So migrate can it can be a lift and shift, where you are migrating your physical or virtual machines to a Azure related virtual machines, right? You are actually lifting your VMs and you're migrating it. So this is where you actually execute the move, right? The adopt phase includes two paths. Was first is migration, and the second would be the innovation. Well, migration is nothing but a lift and shift of your existing workloads to cloud. Innovation is where you are actually re-architecting the apps using PaaS services and cloud native technologies. It is not just about moving the VMs, it is about modernizing your application and process to maximize cloud's benefit. Well, when we say innovation and use PaaS services and cloud native technologies, well, it all depends upon the current state and the to be state of your application. If your application is and your we talk about the application owners as well, right? So we discuss with the owners, with the application owner, and to understand the compatibility of the each and every applications as well. If it is compatible to cloud, if you want to move to app services, if you want to move to Kubernetes or Azure functions. So these are the pretty much the services where we can actually move to PaaS services and move your application accordingly, right? The next stage would be the govern stage. Well, govern stage is where once you are in cloud, right? So you need control. The govern phase introduces a guidelines to manage risk while staging agile, right? So you are actually doing everything in a brisk way, but you're actually managing your infrastructure. Well, to implement this, you have to have policies in place. You have to have RBAC. You have to have tagging where you can actually report using tags, and this basically ensure you stay secure, compliant, and organized, especially across multiple teams, right? So you have to have a strategy where you would be using policies at different level, at subscription level, tenant level, management group level, RBAC, where you won't be giving access to everybody. You are actually trying to understand what kind of a role a particular SME would be performing, and you would be giving only that kind of role to a person. You won't be over giving access, and you would be implementing PIM. You would be tagging your resource accordingly so that the cost is equally tracked. So this is where you actually govern, and this will give you an ability to actually enforce compliant, right? And be secure, and you organize it accordingly, right? The next stage would be to manage. Well, when we say manage phase is all about operation excellence. This is where we have already transitioned to cloud, and you have your workloads in cloud, and you are actually set up monitorings, and you are actually setting up processes to actually optimize your operation workload. uh, you have to work with different teams to optimize the performance and the cost. You actually implement Azure monitoring, advisor for Azure, as well as Defender, right? So, for example, if you use Azure Advisor for proactive optimization of Azure Arc to manage multi-cloud asset, right? So, it is actually using these services to actually optimizing your operations, how you manage your workload once they have already been moved to cloud. The other thing which I want to talk about is why actually we want to move to cloud, and why do you want to actually use Azure over AWS and GCP. Well, let me address this perfectly, because the thing is, what is the need of you to choose Azure? Well, the deep integration with Microsoft ecosystem. Well, you already know, we we've been using Windows servers, Active Directory, Microsoft 365, SQL servers. These are basically Azure offers native integration, licensing benefits, and seamless hybrid experiences of these services. The second part would be to have a hybrid capabilities of Azure Arc. Well, unlike AWS and GCP, Azure is built in for hybrid from ground up. With Azure Arc, you can manage on-prem, multi-cloud, and edge workloads with one control pane. You can actually see your AWS virtual machines in Azure portal, and you can manage it from there as well using Azure Arc, as well as your on-prem virtual machine. So this is integrated with Azure, right? The second thing I wanted to discuss was the other thing is better pricing and licensing model. With Azure hybrid benefits and reserve instances, customers can save up to 80% compared to pay as you go, right? Plus, if you already own a license, you pay less. You pay less, right? So this is also one of the advantage. The other advantage is global reach and availability zones. Azure has data center over 60 regions worldwide, more than ACP or AWS and GCP combined, offering a low latency services closer to your user. So if a person is actually connecting to an application to a particular region, for example Bombay, then you have your regions around it, right? We have West India as well as Southeast India, so it would be around. But so that is where it comes, where the latency is a major factor, right? So that is a driver why you want to move to Azure rather than AWS. The other thing I wanted to discuss was security first architecture. Microsoft invests over $1 billion annually in security and has over 8,500 cybersecurity experts working to protect your data. So if you want to actually go to a cloud, you actually can select Azure over the AWS as well as GCP. The other thing I want to discuss was cost management. Well, one of the biggest myth in cloud adoption is that it's always cheaper. Well, that's only true if you actively manage your cost. I would say that if you are not managing cost effectively, you are actually going to pay more what you are paying in on-prem. So if you are actually managing your cost effectively, that is where you can actually gain going to Azure. Azure provides several tools which can help you track and optimize your spend. Right. For example, budgets, reservation, as you can say, Azure Cost Manager and Advisor. Right. Azure Cost Management and Billing helps you visualize your costs, set budgets, and forecast your future expenses. Azure Advisor gives you cost-saving recommendations like right sizing, underutilized VMs, and removing unused public IPs. Azure reservation and hybrid benefits actually gives you an savings of up to 80% if you commit for 1 to 3 term years, right, on-prem Windows licenses. So if you use Tag, it can also help you manage your cost attributions, apply resources logs, and policies to avoid extra spend, automate shutdowns, and for non-production environments you can use automations to start your workloads once you log in, and you can have automated shutdowns. So whenever you leave whenever you shut down your office, you can actually have your servers down which are non-prod, which are not been will be using in night, right? So you can actually have that kind of cost management strategies where you can reduce cost wastage and overspend. The next thing I want to talk was about security. So security is non-negotiable, as you know, right? It is not a feature as such. You need a secure environment, right? So how to have a secure environment? Well, we have different tools like Azure Security Center, Defender for Cloud, Entra ID, Azure AD for identity. We have DDoS protection, Compliance Manager for audits. So if we talk about Azure Security Center, it is nothing but a continuously assessment of your resources and give you a secure score with actionable recommendations. So it actually checks your cloud resources and check their parameters and scores it, right? So if you have any issues, it recommends how to actually increase the score, right? So this is what where the security center comes into picture. Microsoft Defend for Cloud, it's a threat detection and a prevention across workloads, including VMs, container, databases, and much more. If we talk about Azure AD, Entra ID, seamless identity and access management with multi-factor authentication, conditional access, and identity governance. So, by using Azure AD, you can use the feature of MFA, conditional access, and identity governance. So it is a must for all the cloud users in Azure. You must be using Entra ID for your workloads to authenticate the application, right? So if you want to authenticate and then log in into the application, this is how you can use Entra ID to use that. The next would be NSG's WAF and DDoS protection, as the name says. So using NSG's Azure Firewall, DDoS protection, and application gateway WAF is to build a multi-layer defense system. So it goes if it is a public-facing application or internal application. So that is where how you actually work with different security resources like NSGs and WAF and firewall and DDoS protection to actually layer your defense mechanism. Right. The last would be the compliance manager, which help assess the risk and implement controls to stay compliant with the industry standards. So it is for the managers to actually check your overall spending, your overall way how you're working in Azure, and to overall way to how you secure your environment is. Last, I want to have a conclusion you where I want to talk about how the cloud adoption framework ensures a structured cloud adoption, where how you would be moving to cloud, which combines strategic planning, cost control, and security. Azure offers a complete enterprise grade level platform, and to actually use Azure is actually going to give a long term digital platform where you can grow and use Azure. So the last thing I want to say is to subscribe to my cloud content, and comment below if you want to have a deep dive into any of the topic. And I would say thank you very much.